Let me offer a little advance warning to the big spending, greeting, do-nothing, me-first, country-second crowd in Washington and on Wall Street. Change is coming. Change is coming. And frankly, you're not going to like it.
He's been there 26 years. Welcome back to Horrible. As polls begin to favor Barack Obama again, the New York Times poll, by the way, points a bad picture for McCain. Here's an interesting number. 57% of the voters out there call McCain a typical Republican, which is not a good thing to be this year. 46% say he'll continue Bush's policies as per. By the way, another 22% think he'll be more conservative. Only 37% think he could bring about real change in Washington. Time to bring in the pros, the strategists, strategists, Democrat Steve McMahon, and Republican Todd. Todd, I got to start with you. It's very interesting. But we had Eric Cantor on last night, a fine congressman from Richmond, Virginia, who basically said, I'm not standing here to defend the policies of this Republican administration. I'll defend my own voting record. I'll defend the voting record of the majorities of Republicans in Congress. But I'm not defending Bush anymore. And then Bush does this sort of cuckoo cock speech. It was like a Schwarzwald clock figure. It comes out very briefly and then disappears again. He's the leader of the country. Why did he do it? Look, he comes out and he says a couple things. No Q's, no A's. I'm out of here. By the way, look at that backdrop. I'm not sure what that was about. Is he Smokey the Bear? What's he up to anyway? What is going on? He's supposed to be leading us.
Well, I'll tell you what's going on. A little bit of straight talk. Those poll numbers, that's not good news for John McCain. Now, the good news for McCain is that by rook or by crook or just dumb luck, the Republican Party nominated the one guy who has a real shot this November of creating a separate identity.
Escaping.
Yeah, of creating a separate identity for himself from the rest of the Republican Party. He is the one guy who can do it. Are you saying that he's the great escape? I mean, he can actually pull a Houdini here and escape his 26-year record as a Republican senator, congressman, as the man who supported President Bush the last two elections, voted for him, and who will bring in with him, if he gets elected, basically the same crowd to all the Republican dances they have after the election as were here before. Because this is also the same guy that broke with the president on climate change. He's broken with the president on torture, broken with the president on Guantanamo. He's been a perpetual thorn in the side of Republicans.
Cole Wallace, Charlie Black. I like these people. Charlie Black, Rick Davis, all the familiar faces. They're all Bushies, yes, and they're running his campaign.
I love how the Democrats make such a big deal about who the operatives are. There's not a single voter out there who cares.
They're not operatives. Okay, we're just asking where the messages are coming from. What I find interesting is you want to remember? Let me give you a quote from a Republican operative this week, just to turn the pillow over to the cold side so we can have a new discussion. Karl Rove referred to the governor of Alaska, Sarah Palin, as a political pick. In other words, not the best person to put there in the numbers 2 slot if the number 1 guy can't do it. But here's Senator Chuck Hagel of Nebraska, and here's what he said about the credentials of Sarah Palin. She doesn't have any foreign policy credentials. You get a passport for the first time in your life. What, last year? I mean, I don't know what to say. I don't know what you can say. You can't say anything. I think they ought to be just honest about it and stop the nonsense about it. I look out my window and I see Russia, and so therefore I know something about Russia. That kind of thing is insulting to the American people. I think it's a stretch. And anyway, to say that she's got the experience to be president of the United States, that's a Republican from Nebraska.
That's my man, Chuck. Of course, I'm from Nebraska. So, but I'm a Democrat.
Did you vote for Chuck?
No. But I admire, if you want to talk about straight talk, that's what you're getting from Chuck Hagel. And
is that a fair assessment of the foreign policy credentials of the governor of Alaska? Fair enough or not?
It is a fair assessment.
Is it fair? Did he say it right? Did he say something wrong?
It's accurate, Todd.
Look,
I didn't give him a chance. Did he say something wrong?
I don't think anyone can argue that she's got decades of foreign policy experience. But what gets what gets me is all these people who suddenly think that Barack Obama wrote the book on foreign policy experience. This is a guy who was in the Illinois State Senate, got elected, hung around Washington for a couple of weeks, and then started running for president. So the idea that he is some, Henry Kissinger of this election is just ridiculous. So she has limited foreign policy experience. At the bottom of our ticket, Barack Obama has extremely limited experience at the top of your ticket.
Okay, but here's what you have. First of all, Barack Obama is running against John McCain. And the major issue in this race is change and who's going to change Washington. John McCain, after 26 years here, is acting like he's never been in Washington, like he just got his Washington passport last year. Foreign policy is an important issue in this race. And look at the two candidates at the vice presidential level. Joe Biden, who's been around for a long time, who was a governing pick, not a political pick, and Sarah Palin, who was obviously a political pick. And the notion of Joe Biden being a heartbeat away from the presidency, I think, for most people, isn't the least bit concerning. The notion of Sarah Palin being a heartbeat away from the presidency is why you're seeing these poll numbers begin to deflate for John McCain. People have figured out the joke. They've seen her interviewed by Charlie Gibson. They're starting to see her answer questions.
Let me ask you a tough
they
question.
Saw Tina Fey.
If you had all your money in the market, or you were a typical American, and you are at some point typical Americans, at some point, you're looking at the market today, it bounced up 400 points. It could get down 400 points tomorrow. We have no idea. This thing is the rockiest thing we've ever looked at. It's lost in a huge amount of money. I mean, it's up until yesterday, $1 trillion lost in 1 week. Huge amounts of money blown out the window. Nobody's jumping out the window yet, but the money's flying out the window. Who do you, either one of these people, John McCain or Barack Obama, the kind of economic person that you would really say, now that would be a Mike Bloomberg, or that would be a Warren Buffett, or do either one of them know what they're talking about, really? Or do they have to go find somebody that knows what they're talking about?
I think they probably would both have to go find people to deal with the Wall Street mess. But
why don't they tell us now who they're going to listen to? I'm dead. You know, when you go on that what was that show was on for years? You have a lifeline. You call the guy whoever would help you with. Shouldn't they tell us now who they're going to call? I mean, seriously, if it's going to be Bob Rubin, he should say, I'm not maybe making him Secretary of the Treasury, but if I got a crisis, he's in the room with me. Or Warren Buffett's in the room.
That's been pretty clear.
Shouldn't they all make it clear who they're going to be listening to? Because it's not them. They don't know jack.
Well, you know, as far as who they're going to listen to, I find it ironic that Obama all week has been critical of Gramm-Leach-Bliley, this deregulatory measure that came through in the late 90s, but it was shepherded through by Bob Rubin, by Gene Sperling, by Larry Summers, who are Obama's top three economic advisors. So who's he going to listen to? The same guys that got us into this deregulatory mess in the first place.
Look at what happened just in the last year at the SEC. They repealed the uptick rule, which I don't frankly understand, but I know that it makes it a lot easier now to short stocks and to drive the price of stocks way down. And there are other rules that protected investors that have been taken off the books. And I think what you have to ask yourself is which of these two candidates has a philosophy that's going to enable a reasonable amount of regulation on Wall Street. Because, you know, John McCain stood there today and blamed Christopher Cox, and I think Christopher Cox certainly has, the SEC chairman, has a lot to be held accountable for. But the fact of the matter is the banks were making loans to people on perhaps fraudulent basis, and they were making loans to people who couldn't afford to pay them back. And then the rating agencies were rating those loans in a way that wasn't accurate. So there was a mess at every single step, and it's because the Republicans walked away from the regulatory responsibility of the federal government, both at Wall Street and at the banking level. And that has to change. John McCain won't change it. Barack Obama
I just wanted a simple political question. I don't understand this market thing. I got a guy advises me.
What's he saying? On a relative basis, we're doing well. In absolute terms, we're not doing well.
You'll be all right in the long run. They all say that. But I put a lot of money into T-bills and things like that, like everybody else has lately, because it's the only real safe place. We're in a horrendous economic situation place right now, whereby you can't borrow money, but if you lend money, you don't get any interest on it. So that's a crazy time. It's a scary time. And I'm just wondering, who do you blame? Everybody says no finger pointing. Damn it, election time is a time to point fingers. It's called accountability. You find the guy who's been in charge for 8 years and you kick him out the door, unless he can give you a damn good argument that it's not his fault. I watched Jimmy Carter get kicked out the door. I happened to be working for him at the time. You know why he was kicked out the door? Because gas prices went up and you had to wait in line. Interest rates went up. Inflation rates went up, and we had hostages taken. Nobody said, oh, it's not Carter's fault they got grabbed over there just it happened to be his watch. You got to pay. If it's your watch and you blow it, you pay for it.
I agree with that.
This is the first time in history where a candidate like McCain has been able to say, oh, yeah, I'm a Republican. I've been with Bush all these years, but I'm going to start saying fire everybody now and save my butt.
But, Chris, this is where I disagree with you, because I don't think that this is about party. The people who are going to vote Republican are already going to vote. I know you're shocked to hear that.
No, because the only reason John McCain's up there is he was nominated by your party.
Hold on. The people who are going to vote Republican are voting Republican. The people who are going to vote Democrat are going to vote Democrat. Those swing voters, for them, it's not about party, and it's about record. And if you look at John McCain's, record 5 years ago.
Respond to that.
It's about who's going to walk away from it, who has walked away from it, who's abdicated their responsibility, and who's going to do something. And I think when the swing voters take a look at that, they know Republicans are the party of deregulation and laissez-faire and letting Wall Street take care of the money. And that's what we've had for 8 years, and people are tired of it, and they're ready for a change. That's why Barack Obama is going to win. It's why you see his poll numbers today.
5 years ago, John McCain stood on the floor of the Congress and said, we have got to do something about, in terms of regulation of Freddie Mae and Fannie Mac.
57% of the American people in the latest New York Times poll believe that John McCain is a typical Republican. Is that a good thing?
No, I just said earlier that that's not a good thing.
Okay, thank you.
Beat a dead horse.
You're not dead. Thank you, Todd Harris.